Whenever there is a new kid on the block, you can almost guarantee it that the MMA world would be up adding their own 2 cents to whether that fighter is all that or not. It's no different with the Octagon. Another contemporary of Nickal in the wrestling department is Triple C himself, Henry Cejudo, who is ready to crown Nickal the 185-pound champ already, as he said,
"For those who don't think Bo Nickal is a real deal, guys, I'm going to tell you guys right now, as an Olympic champ, as a 2-division champion, like, I don't even want to say prospect no more. I think it's just pending whenever this guy actually becomes champion at 185 pounds. I think if you're able to put him against Israel Adesanya now, just according to styles, Bo Nickal beats him. Bo Nickal beats him. He puts him to his back, controls his wrist, grapples the heck out of him, and that's all she wrote. It's almost like I'm going to go back and talk about how Khamzat Chimaev's hardest fights are not Israel Adesanya. Khamzat's hardest fights are guys that could probably take you down like a Paulo Boashinha, or a guy that understands wrestling like a Robert Whittaker. I see the exact same thing with Bo Nickal. Bo Nickal is going to have a harder time with the rest of the fighters than with actually the champion, because there's such a big hole. And there's a deficiency in Israel Adesanya, and it's called wrestling. We saw that with Jan.
Now, so into the MMA sphere, both the champ Aljamain Sterling and a possible future contender Sean O'Malley have nothing but praise for Nickal. So Nickal,
who's going to be willing to step up and say, I'm going to fight Bo? Like, you had this one guy who's training with Robert Drysdale, jiu-jitsu ace. He gets smoked. You have a guy who's fighting for Cage Fury, who's 7-1. You would think there would be some type of resistance. This guy looks tentative, and he looks very hesitant of doing anything because of the threat of the takedown and knowing what that would lead to.
While O'Malley had his promoter hat on while speaking about Nickal and his future in the UFC, as he tried his best to matchmake the potential future superstar.
But if you're UFC, it's like, do you really want Bo Nickal to fight Khamzat right now? Like, that could be a big fight. That's a tricky situation. I doubt they'll put.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that. So it's good for Bo to say that, call him out. Because UFC's probably going to say, no, we're going to give you a couple fights, get you a couple wins, get you a couple highlights, put a nice little reel together, and promote you, build you slowly.
Right, and they should. I mean, even though he's shown that he
26, he's young.
Yeah.
He's 26.
He's athletic as hell. Holy crap, watching him.
Yeah.
But I hope they give him a top 15 maybe? Or do you think they're going to even put him slower than that?
I don't think they'll give him a top 15 right away. And maybe. I don't think the middleweight division's that, like, deep. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
The top 5's pretty deep.
Yeah.
Top 7, 8 maybe is pretty deep, but I don't know.
Former UFC heavyweight turned podcaster Brendan Schaub also sees future superstar when he looks to Bo Nickal, but wants him to take the slow road, as he said,
so he only has 2 professional fights. His longest fight lasted a minute. He destroyed that dude. That dude had no business being in there. I assume they give him a step up in competition in this next one. Let's see how he does with that. But even at 3-0 to get in the UFC, again, Bo, it's such a marathon, not a sprint. I would like it if he went outside that and competed, because just competing on the contender series isn't really the way to go. Also, if he's like, I don't want to do that, I just want to be, doing my UFC thing, cool. If I'm Dana, make him the face of contender series. Make him make a contender series champion. Have Bo Nickal get experience on the contender series, and guys have to get through him to get to the UFC. Not a bad test, but also you got a superstar. Bo Nickal is the biggest prospect we've had in fucking years. Huge prospect. Huge prospect.
Hype train is the former 185-pound king Luke Rockhold himself.
What do you make of the hype train behind Bo Nickal? He was just on Contender Series. He's not officially on the UFC roster because he's got another Contender Series fight September 27th. He's got all the wrestling accolades. He told the Schmo a few weeks ago he doesn't think there's anybody in the middleweight division that has 10% of his wrestling skills and capabilities. When you hear that, Luke, as someone who's been a former champion of this division, how does that make you feel?
Bo Nickal would get abused. Absolutely abused. It's different, It's different. Wrestling is you can go so far until you run into the likes of me. But, he's a credible character. The kid looks good. So, but he fought a fucking bum. So, who the fuck knows? And, we'll see. We'll see what the kid makes of.
The American gangster Chael Sonnen doesn't agree with Rockhold, as Sonnen believes that the UFC should drop Nickal into the deep end right now and see where he stands. As he said,
and a promoter must always ask himself one question: what if? What if? So I'm talking about Bo Nickal right now. I'm talking about a guy who might be the best in the world. Now, I could be getting ahead of myself, but let's test this. What is it we're supposed to gain by by signing a brand new guy to go in there to fight on TV and taking up those spots? What is it that we're supposed to gain? Now, we have to do those things. The guys at 185 pounds that would like to fight on December 10th, who don't know if they're going to be able to, but they're pretty sure they're not going to be fighting on TV, every one of those guys should be calling out Bo. None of them have. So you do have to wear a lot of hats at once. It is one of these really tricky spots where you can't just go make it happen unilaterally. But as far as don't rush a guy, why not?
Nickal recently competed in his final Dana White Contender Series match, which he won via submission in just 52 seconds, after which a string of tweets from fellow fighters flooded the internet. Starting with one of Nickal's sparring partners, Jorge Masvidal, who kept it short and simple. He said, #I told you. While former lightweight champ Anthony Pettis was ready to hand Bo Nickal a contract right in the octagon as he tweeted out, "Bo Nickal, just draft the contract now." While welterweight contender Michael Chiesa was simply lost for words as he said, "Bo Nickal, that's all I have to say. Good night." And just a day after signing with the UFC, Bo Nickal already has a fight lined up as it was announced that he would be taking on Jamie Pickett at UFC 282 on December 10th. So it seems as if the UFC is all on board the Nickal hype train as it gets ready to take off in Las Vegas and could find it hurling headfirst toward a UFC title shot sooner rather than later. So if you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the little bell beside it so that you're notified the next time we upload a new video. With that being said, you just watched us break down what fighter has to say about the Prodigy Bo Nickal. We'll see you next time.